HowExpert! Stories, real stories by everyday people. Finding myself, relearning about myself, and life following a car accident. William Tiller. Every day got a little easier as I rediscovered a part of myself. The first few days after the accident were not the hardest, as some might expect. Yes, the muscle pain was at its worst. I could hardly get up or even turn my head. The extended emotional that came from being unable to hug my wife, feed myself, or play with our dog was also tiresome, to say the least. Not remembering fully who I was the biggest contributor to my anxiety. It was as if my personality had been reset to 2 or 3 years before that point, and many of the largest occasions that had taken place in that span were gone, too, as suddenly as the accident had occurred. This after going through a major worldview shift, from one where I was limited and cursed to one of freedom and fulfillment. Without those memories, I could no longer recall why I should be happy, or why I was okay, despite the world around me. Each day was an exercise in recovery. It was much too soon to get up and jog, so I dedicated my energy to the pursuit I most effectively handle. I began to muse once more about life and morality, the topic which had spurred me to live vigorously before. For weeks I spent most of my days considering anything that I could about existence. However, it was some time before I could properly hold on to a thought at all. Every day I worked hard to hold the thought. Walking into a room, or while on the way to that room, I might forget what it was I had gone there for. This at the age of 20. My wife was very supportive, but it was painful for them too. Memories over my life were spotty. Some had been reduced to a single picture in my brain or impression. Other memories seemed gone for good. I noticed a pattern, though. Many memories were restored upon me being reminded of them. It was not that they were gone entirely, but they were gone until someone else told me about them. My partner recalled our first dates together and what we had done the week before. With this realization, I started to consume whatever I could about my life and media that I knew I had been familiar with. This process reacquainted me with favorite book series and movies, and reintroduced me to friends I had known for a fleeting summer. After a few weeks, I was once again able to get up and walk about, slowly and then with more vigor, and resume daily tasks myself. During this time, I was seeing a physical therapist. Our sessions began twice a week and decreased in frequency with time. These outings were good for my mental health, but left me tired. Riding in the car took a toll on my lower back and on my emotional energy. It would be at least 4 months before I would feel safe riding in a car again. This was the first time I had experienced an unconscious response to trauma that noticeably affected my daily life. With support from my family and utilizing breathing and meditating, I got used to riding in the passenger seat again. Upon attempting to drive, we started like we would have if I were a new driver, in a parking lot and around our neighborhood. It was pretty scary at first, less because I could not drive, but more so because I was worried that I would suddenly seize up emotionally or become frightened. With time, I regained my full confidence in driving, so much so that I began to drive myself to physical therapy. A large amount of the mental stress that came from forgetting so much was that I forgot what kind of life I had wanted to and had been aiming to live. I no longer had peace or confidence in the choices I was making. For me, knowing why it was I did something had been a key personality trait and driving motivator. After the accident, I could mostly remember what I had believed, to varying degrees, about what would be a good way to live, but I could hardly remember why I had accepted those ideas about life. There was a local park that had been my thinking log of sorts, and I had spent countless hours roaming its depth and the space of my mind. It was there that I had found the peace I now craved, but it would be at least a couple more months before I would have the stamina to go for a long walk on uneven ground. In the meantime, I got reacquainted with the tasks of regular daily life. For nearly 3 months, I had been essentially bedridden. We reintroduced them slowly, careful not to do too much or strain too hard, just to achieve any given task. Again, in this my partner was patient and helpful. One of the greatest joys was to wash myself again, fully, by myself. This was one of the tasks I had minded the least to have help with. But it felt like an achievement to be able to execute the bends and the twists necessary, as well as to have the stamina to stay up for so long. Returning to work was simultaneously hard and useful. As many things in life are, my job required standing and lifting for long periods. This was made easier by additional breaks afforded to me by my doctor and HR department, where I would continue to work while sitting down. With time, this helped me to rebuild the strength necessary to go for walks at my favorite park. At each stage in the recovery process, I relearned things about myself. When I began, I did not realize how much was gone. It was through daily living that I came to realize how much I had been affected. Initially, I believed it'd all be bad. With time, I learned that in a large part, it was just different. It took a lot of work, but I am doing better now. Each day, I still am learning about myself, the new me, and I love myself for them. I am also relearning about my past and treasuring what I discover. HowExpert publishes how-to guides and stories by everyday people. Visit howexpert.com to learn more.